my lemon caper deviled eggs.
I love that.
Oh, I love deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs just scream spring, too. I think that they've got to be on your spring table for a feast,
I would
for
agree.
sure. It's not a party at my house without deviled eggs. I've maybe made them on here once or twice, but, you know, gonna do a little different version. So, I've got my boiled egg whites here. What I like to do is I make this completely, and then before serving, that's when I fill it. So I cut the eggs. I've got a few left here. Separate the yellow and the white.
Is that a 12-minute egg, Katie?
I usually do about 10 minutes, actually. You know, I like to bring the water to a boil and then add the eggs.
Yep.
I think that that makes it a lot easier to peel. I always get questions on social media
Plus, you don't get that
about
green
peeling
funky
eggs.
thing around.
Yeah, I think that that's
That's the
the
secret.
easiest way to do it. So just pop those out, and then I put them in my deviled egg plate because I have a deviled egg plate. I love
Of course
those.
you do.
I got it at a yard sale.
Of course you do.
And this, I just cover in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge until it's serving time. Now let's get started on our filling. So into the food processor, I like creamy deviled eggs, so I use a food
see.
processor.
Do you need this
can
chopped?
use just a fork though. Yeah, I'm gonna use that for garnish, so just give me like a rough chop on
Rough
it.
chop in.
And also zest that lemon for me, because these are lemon caper deviled eggs.
Of course.
So I always do a quick pulse of the yolks first before I add in the mayonnaise. I think it gives you a better texture. It helps you achieve that creaminess faster. Mayonnaise. Now, I suppose if you wanted to be lighter, I have done this before, you use half Greek yogurt, half mayonnaise. So
Wow.
it does work. And then I'm gonna add in a clove of grated garlic.
I like the Greek yogurt, or even maybe sour cream idea.
Sour cream would work
Half
too.
and half.
Yeah. It adds just a little tang to it that's nice. Yellow mustard. I love yellow mustard. Again, I think it adds a nice tang. You could totally use Dijon in this. Capers. I love that brininess of the caper. A little salt, little pep. Lemon zest. This just brightens the whole thing up. All right, so now I'm gonna puree this until it gets nice and creamy. All right, so now, time to transfer this. Now, if you have a fancy pastry piping bag, which I never do, you can use it, or you can just take a gallon zip top bag, put it into a glass. That makes this so much easier to put it into a glass. And then transfer it. Because if you're trying to hold the bag and transfer, it just gets
You'll
everywhere.
be left holding the bag.
Yeah. All right, so slowly in.
You know what I'm thinking of right now? Like, wouldn't that be a great spread for like a ham sandwich?
Oh my gosh,
So
that'd be
good.
so good,
I love deviled eggs, just so we're clear.
day.
right?
Yeah, I can't ever get enough.
All right, there we go. Now, just gonna close this up.
Need a scissor?
And this is how you make your own little
That's a clever
piping
idea,
bag.
right?
Oh, I love this. So you don't have a pastry bag?
Yeah,
You know, there you go.
don't need it. And then just snip off the very end. Okay. Now it's time to fill. So what I do, I put this into the refrigerator. This is in the refrigerator just before serving time. Get it out, snip that end, and fill up your eggs. Just like that. Aren't they pretty? I've got some paprika here. I'm gonna just do a little, a lot came out. Oh gosh. We're getting crazy with a couple
Getting
of
crazy.
these. All right, I'm gonna hit them with some parsley. You know, I get questions about, you did a real rough chop on this
You
parsley.
said rough chop.
Yeah. Teasing. I get a lot of questions when I post deviled eggs on my deviled egg plate about what you're supposed to do in the middle here. You can fill it up with more eggs, or I like to put a little crudité in there. So like maybe some sliced radishes and celery, and if you have extra of your egg filling, put a little in the center and put some radishes around it. People can dip in it. Or if you don't want to do that, put this in the fridge and like Geoffrey said, put it on a ham sandwich.
Oh my God,
Delicious.
imagine.
Yeah.
So good. Best condiment in the
Delicious.
world.
All right, Alex, would you like a deviled egg? I'll serve
course.
you.
Of course. I'm gonna take a really heavily.
Little paprika one.
Yeah, it's a verb to paprika.
It is. Jeffrey, would you like it?
Yeah, sure. Could I have one with mint?
I might go fork with this.
I'll do this. Oh. I'm gonna go spoon.
You know what's so funny? I ate with a fork. He ate with a spoon, and you took it in your hands.
Yeah.
Deviled eggs are so personal. You know what I love? The white is just pure. And then the caper just comes in with this salty punch. You get that little bit of spice on top. It's so beautifully balanced and seasoned. The lemon, the parsley, the capers.
It's one of the best deviled eggs I've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
I would love this with a thin slice, transparent smoked salmon on top.
I am making baked brie with a cranberry chutney and toasted almonds.
Ooh.
Okay? So we're gonna start with a little chutney. In here, I have a cup of dried cranberries. You could use other dried fruit, but I like cranberries or dried cherries the most. And I've just cooked down a cup of cherries with a cup of white wine. I'm talking whatever's left over from the night before, door of the fridge type of white wine. Okay. Cook it all the way down, and that plumps the dried fruit. You know, it hydrates them, right? They've had their margarita too. So to that, I've just peeled and diced one pear, and I'm gonna just add that in.
You've been talking about those pears. You're bringing them in. You love the pears.
You know, I'm not gonna make eye contact with an apple this season.
Wow.
Okay? I'm all about the pear
Bold.
love. Just cooking that pear a little bit to soften it. Now to that, I know you don't add butter to chutney, so I don't know why you would, but I'm gonna add a tablespoon of butter.
Cause thighs, that's why.
Because we need it. A little cayenne, just half a teaspoon, just a little touch. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You need a little bit of that. And you know me, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. They don't make apple cider vinegar, do they?
We need the tang.
Pear cider vinegar would be
Wouldn't
awesome.
that be interesting?
Write it down, Sonny, for our next business venture.
So we're just cooking that down. You can kind of just let this hang out. I have a batch here that I cooked a little bit longer. You could kind of make it more raw and fresh or more cooked depending on what you want. Now, to that, I'm gonna add some fresh parsley and a tablespoon of diced pickles and a tablespoon of diced pickle juice. And that's because we're gonna put this on a giant wheel of brie. Okay,
That's
now.
a big wheel of brie.
I
It's our
swear.
queso and margarita, right?
That is the wheel that came off the bus earlier, is literally the brie.
This is a 1 kilo wheel of brie, and it's 8 inches in diameter. Do you know what I'm saying, people?
That's right, we mean business.
Yeah, we're not, this is a Friendsgiving. If you're really with your friends, right? Friends don't let friends eat tiny wheels
I
of
think
cheese.
that this format is that.
Oh, she cutting the rind off. Do it. Alex,
Exactly.
I was wondering.
I like the big format brie. I think it's better.
Do you guys always cut your rind off of the brie or no?
If I'm baking it, you got to have that
gotta have
A little
point
bit
of
the
entry.
Sometimes I'll just do like a hash in the center and peel back when you're done. That's kind of sexy too. You know what I mean? Look at that.
Yeah, you want to open this up. So, I mean, I'm kind of thinking, you know, like a queso dip, you know, something really kind of big format.
I'm liking this idea right
Well,
away.
Jeff just made the
It's gonna be
point.
so good with these
We're-
margaritas.
Exactly. We're drinking margaritas. Might as well have cheese dip.
I like that we're shaking it up, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to put this in here,
the
tiniest
memo.
pinch of salt,
Oh.
and I'm going to just toast the almonds at the same time. Right? Why not get it all done at the same time? This is gonna go in the oven at 400 degrees. I like the idea of toasting the nuts and having a built-in timer. I have burned more trays of nuts, but this is just almonds with the skin on for a little bit of that taste. This is gonna go in the oven at 350 degrees, about 12 minutes. What are we looking for?
Wow.
A giant brie jacuzzi.
Okay.
Jugos.
Okay. And that's
Alex,
a dry pan, no
speak my
fat
language.
or anything in it. I like that.
And then here we go. Of course, I just happen to have one casually bubbling away. And I mean, can we get a little aromatherapy going?
Oh, girl.
Bro.
Look at
It's got bubbles in there.
Wow. You just
I am
stop
absolutely
right
for
there.
anything in
Take a
cast
little
iron
nose bath.
crusade like that stays warm for more than 5 minutes.
But
Yep.
look at the top. I mean, it almost looks like a pizza.
I like this side.
Oh.
Put out some bread, put out some crackers. You could just put out crudité with this. Excuse me while I serve you all.
Oh, you are just so nice.
That is a
I
Thanksgiving
like how she
starter.
said she could
Wow.
just trust people. Okay. You're
Right?
gonna trust that I'm gonna take the proper amount.
Get a
Yeah,
shot
there
of
is
that.
no,
There's no
this is-
proper amount, Sonny.
That's gorgeous, right?
There isn't, is there? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
taking
you
a
can
photo?
go in.
You
I
got
like
it?
an action
Wait,
shot.
let me give you a slow-mo dig in.
Oh, hold on.
You know,
I'm
let
gonna
me
get the
make it
video.
dramatic.
Here we go. 3, 2, go. And
This is
scene.
Friendsgiving, right?
Oh,
Everybody take a picture.
Mauro.
Cheese pull.
That's what happens when you trust me, Alex, okay?
Sour mix.
I know. It's good. Oh, I
Get some
that
of
is.
this in
Oh,
there.
look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
Oh, it's a little hot. Be careful.
Don't burn the top of your mouth, Sonny.
Come on, go
I know,
in
it's
there,
kind
go
of
in
like a
there.
pizza. You're
Yeah.
supposed to, right?
Yeah,
Like,
And using a plate.
Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, the
yeah.
cheese.
Who needs turkey?
we already know about the Brie. You know what I'm saying? Comes through, it's creamy. It's kind of like, you know, it'll accept any flavor on top of it, right? But what I love about this is I always have dried cranberries in my pantry, or cherries, which I think would be perfect here. You're
think
right.
everybody
dried
does,
fruit
right?
would be great, right? But pears just don't get the love that
don't.
they should
don't.
around the holidays. They're so fall.
Sad about it.
They're so plentiful in the produce section.
Telling you, I have just done, look at that. What's that, a quarter cup of fresh herbs? I've got some parsley, oregano, and some dill in for this delicious, these stuffed grape leaves I'm gonna make. And it's going into some ground beef here that has some onions and garlic and some raw rice. That's right, rice that has not been cooked yet. Now I let this mixture cool down and I'm putting these herbs in cool. What I'm gonna do in a second is stuff them into these grape leaves. So I just wanna mix this around. Now, I didn't put it in and cook the herbs into it because after I stuff the grape leaves, they're gonna go in this dish and they're gonna cook in the oven. So we'll do that in a second. I just had to let this cool down and then get this all incorporated in. Before we do anything else, let's stuff some leaves because I gotta get these leaves in the oven. They're gonna spend about an hour in there at about 375. So here's your grape leaf. Nice young leaf. It's picked, rolled up, put in a jar, put it in a can, a little bit of a hot brine poured in there. This is gonna be the inside, and we wanna watch for these stems. Take those out. Now, I learned this from a friend of mine at Vula's Cafe. Vula herself taught me this, so I know she's gonna be watching, and I hope I'm gonna do it right. Now, I'm doing it right. She gave me a good rundown. Okay, so we take a little bit of the mixture, pop it in the middle. It's about a tablespoon. Now, you can stuff this with what you want. Maybe you want to do it with some chicken or some lamb. The idea, though, is the rice isn't cooked yet. The rice is going to cook when it goes into this dish by adding either in some chicken stock, white wine, some water. So here's what we do. We fold this side over, kind of bring it towards the back. There we go. This is kind of like little miniature Havana. This is like Havana meets Greece. And take it over and right, look at that, about 1 inch by 2 inches. Put it down on its seam, right like that, okay? So when it starts to cook that rice inside and it starts to expand, it doesn't unravel. So you grab this bad boy. They're gonna be different sizes, so you're gonna have to just, you know, play the game and see how much stuffing you're gonna put in. A little bit in there, maybe a touch more. And we just keep going and going and going. All right, this is the last one. You know, they all vary in different size, so gotta kind of eyeball how much mixture I'm gonna put in there. Okay, so there's that. Over. Takes a little bit of time. This is when you call the kids in to come help you or invite some friends over. But oh, these are so good. Wait till you taste this lemon sauce we're gonna put over the top. Okay, so that looks good. Done with these bad boys. This can come out of my way. Let me fire this pan up because I need to get these chicken breasts working. Okay, now, what am I gonna do with them? Well, I'm gonna add a little bit of water and just a touch, just to put a little bit on top, and this is gonna help cook that rice, but you never know how hard they're, you know, packed in here. So I just wanna see a little bit of water, just a little bit rise to the top. There we go. Let's get some butter in there. And we'll just lay some pats on here. Now this will add some real nice flavor and some moisture. And while I'm doing that, you know what? I might as well throw a little bit of butter in there because this I'm gonna need to get going here in a second. This will work for my chicken breasts. Okay, aluminum foil. Really wanna put a nice seal on this. So hope foil with no holes in it. And it's gonna go in the oven 375 degrees for about an hour, and that's to steam it. And that's gonna be steaming the rice and cooking that, and it's also gonna be tenderizing, making those leaves nice and tender. So this goes down There we go. Okay. Now what I need to work on is a little bit of a slurry, cornstarch and water, to make myself a little thickener that I'm doing with some chicken stock. So dig the cornstarch out there. Kind of a 50-50 ratio. Here we go. Okay. And so this is gonna go into this chicken stock. Now what am I doing with this? Well, I've got this nice and hot here, and you gotta put the cornstarch mixture in there when it's hot. That'll help it react. Okay? I'm gonna put this into this chicken stock, and this is gonna start to thicken up. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take this, mix it with some egg whites over there. Give that a chance to thicken up. Now this is going to make our lemon sauce. So let me let that thicken up for a second. Roll out a couple fat lemons. You should smell the flavors coming out of this. Now I'm gonna pop this in the oven in just a second because it can't finish cooking all the way here in the pan. This is, wow, look at that. See how fast that got thick? Nice and thick. Okay, now we bring this over here. Now, we gotta add this in slowly. These are the egg whites right here, and if we add it in too fast, well, we're gonna kind of make ourselves a scrambled egg white mess. So we're gonna temper this a little bit, just with a little bit of the mixture at a time, and eventually we can add everybody in. But this is gonna be a really nice, light lemon sauce. Thick, but light, you know what I mean. Okay, and this is gonna go on top of those stuffed grape leaves. There we go. There we go. Now everybody in. Okay. Now here we go. We're going to put in some lemon. Try to catch those seeds. No surprises. Well, about 1.5 should work good on this. There we go. I think fresh lemon in this, when you're making the sauce, it's called lemon sauce. I think fresh lemon's really key on this one. And there's another seed. I like those presses sometimes. You see me use those. Okay. This thing's cracking away over here. Okay. So I'm going to mix this up. Hit a little bit of salt and a little pepper into here. And what I want to do is leave this a little bit warm, so I'm going to pour it back into the pot. There we go. And let this kind of sit over here on the stove. Just keeping it, you know, kind of not even really a simmer, just warm. Now, what I'm going to do is spoon a little bit of this lemon sauce over the top of these dolmas, the stuffed grape leaves. Stuffed with beef, the rice is cooked right in. That's fantastic.
Ooh, look how cheesy and creamy that is. I am making fried mac and cheese bites. This is basically my macaroni and cheese recipe into a little ball, rolled into some panko and deep fried to perfection. So it's crunchy, cheesy, and absolutely delicious. I've shredded 3 types of cheese. I have extra sharp cheddar, smoked Gouda, and Colby Jack cheese, all right? So I'm gonna go back here and get my roux started and add my cheese. I am going to heat 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, 1 tablespoon of flour. All right, so the butter has melted with that flour. I'm gonna add a cup of heavy cream. And I'm just gonna keep stirring until it starts to thicken. All right, now I'm going to add my cheeses. Look at that cheese pool though. Ooh, that's gonna be cheesy. Now I'm gonna add a little salt, a little smoked paprika to complement that smoked Gouda, some dry mustard. I love putting dried mustard in my mac and cheese. It just adds this really nice bite to it. A little freshly cracked black pepper, about a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a little bit of sour cream, just about a ½ cup. People always ask me, why do you put sour cream in your mac and cheese? Something about that sour cream just adds this bit of tang to it. It's a nice surprise when you eat the macaroni and cheese, and that's why I love adding it. And it also adds a little creaminess as well. Elbow mac. I'm gonna mix this together. I have a baking dish here that I have greased. I am gonna actually let this hang out in the fridge to set up because I need to scoop it. It needs to be scoopable, so it has to be cold. All right, so my mac and cheese is nice and firm and very scoopable. And I'm gonna set up a dredging station. All right, in one bowl, I'm gonna use some flour. In this bowl, I'm gonna add 3 eggs. In this bowl, I've added some panko that I'm going to lightly season with some pepper, salt, and a little smoked paprika. Give it a mix. All right, so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna form my ball, coat it in flour, coat it in the eggs, coat it in the panko, do all of them until I'm done, and then fry it until it's nice, crispy, and golden. And this makes about 3 dozen mac and cheese bites. All right, so that's my last mac and cheese bite. I have some vegetable oil heated to 350 degrees. I'm going to fry these in batches until they are golden brown. And I'm using a Dutch oven. I filled it just enough to cover. Just fill it up about 3/4 of the way. All right, my first batch is in. Mac and cheese bites are done. Look at that beautiful golden brown color. Pretty sure it's nice and cheesy on the inside. Let those cool off for a bit. I'm gonna add my second batch. Because the oil is really hot now, that second batch is not gonna take as long to cook, so just keep a watchful eye on it. If you have a smaller pot, it may take 2 to 3 batches. I think they've cooled off a bit. Ooh, look how cheesy and creamy that is. Let's try. Oh man, it's cheesy, it's crunchy.
Creamy soup, yes, but creamy soup without the cream.
What?
It's my mushroom soup without cream. I'm gonna show you.
It's a delectable title of that recipe.
It is what it is. Are you ready? We're gonna use cremini mushrooms. Everybody's seen these, right? These are good. They're relatively inexpensive. You can use white mushrooms, button mushrooms, cremini mushrooms, anything meaty. I wouldn't use shiitakes for these. They're kind of woody, but anything fat and meaty like this, they're not
Baby bellas?
expensive. What?
Baby bellas?
You can, but something like this that is sort of heavy and big and fat like that. And we're just gonna slice them up.
You know there's a lineage of mushrooms, right? So you got the baby bellas.
Yes.
They grow up to become teenagers as creminis.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
those creminis become portobellas. They're all the
Yep.
same. It just gets bigger
Oh, I
and
never
older.
knew that. I knew baby bellas are interchangeable with they're the
And then
same as
I thought
cremini,
they were
right?
the same.
Yeah.
And you can use Paris mushrooms, which are the white ones, which are
Wow.
the cheapest of all of them. You
Oh.
have the name Paris in them.
The white button.
Yeah,
right?
the white buttons. Okay, so we're gonna get some olive oil. We're gonna put everything in here. The mushroom, sliced onion, white onion, very finely sliced.
Are you guys particular about how you clean your mushrooms?
Yeah,
I never clean them.
I'll tell you how I clean them.
They're covered in dirt.
I don't know.
No,
Dirt's good for you. From the dirt, you shall return.
Well, I'll tell you what we do in the restaurant. We take them and we take a damp towel,
Yeah.
one by one, and we wipe them. If you submerge them in water,
Soak it up.
guess what?
Yeah.
You have a sponge, and it's really not good. And most of them are really clean, so that's a tip for you. Okay, so what I'd like to do is just put these over a very medium-high heat, and you gotta leave these alone. Medium-high to start, and then medium. Pepper, no salt. Why is that, Jeff?
Because it leaches out the moisture and it prohibits caramelization.
Or the Maillard effect. So if you put salt, it's going to actually, in some cases, if you're making a bolognese, you want the salt, but in this case, you don't. So you want the liquid to stay inside the mushroom, and it won't brown as good. So you see this nice brownage here? See that? There's no salt in there yet, okay?
That's the key.
That takes time. Then we're going to add some salt
Okay.
and some pepper. Okay, so to this, at this stage, next, you know, you can use sherry, you can use vermouth. I'm using vermouth. And the secret to making it creamy is one of two things. A little bit of fresh breadcrumb,
Oh.
fresh thyme. And we're gonna let that cook. And then we're gonna add, oh God, I can tell you, when sherry hits or vermouth hits that, the smell is
Mushrooms
incredible.
and that, such a match made in heaven.
And then we're gonna add chicken stock, beef stock. I like more vegetable stock. I like chicken stock unsalted, all right?
Vegetable
Low
stock if
sodium.
you wanted to make it vegetarian.
You
right?
can.
And you can buy mushroom stock now, too.
Yes, you can. We'll let that simmer for another 20 minutes, and then we have this. This is basically your base. So it looks like mushroom stock, basically.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
don't
look
see
anything
anything creamy yet.
Relax.
Wait.
It's gonna happen.
Well, do it, dude. Sitting here.
The magic of a blender.
GZ with no drippage.
No drippage.
Iron chef.
I did see one little bit drip. I'm not going to call him out, but I did see it. I see
One
it
of the things
still.
I love to use when I'm making something fresh and roasted, I need to have sort of a balance, and I love acid, so a little bit of sherry wine vinegar
At the end.
into this, and then we're gonna blend it. Be very careful at this point because it's hot. If you put this on high, it's gonna go everywhere, so just real low to start, all right? And then we're gonna just turn it up.
You had like one piece
looks
of
like
bread
a
in there?
quarter of a
Not a lot, you
cup,
don't need a lot.
You gonna drizzle?
I'm gonna drizzle. Guess what I'm gonna drizzle inside there?
EVOO.
Extra virgin olive
What's up,
oil.
Rachel?
One of the things that makes it really creamy. Now we're gonna taste it.
Be careful, it's still running.
It is still running, it's okay.
Look at this guy, living on the edge. Love it.
You know, that's pretty good.
Oh, go GZ.
Right.
So we need our, it's almost thick. You see, it's almost creamy right now. Just got a little olive oil, not too much.
Roll. Okay.
How much oil did you just put in there, Geoffrey?
You know,
Okay.
a healthy amount.
So I just want to show you the
It's the good fat.
consistency. Tell me this looks like, it doesn't
Look
look
at
like it
that.
has cream in it.
Wow, it looks like a chowder.
So, okay. You ready to taste? So what I have here is I've made a little bit of a tahini herb dressing,
look
which I'm
at
going to
you.
show you later how to make.
Represent, GZ.
It's my people.
Yeah, you always represent. I like that.
Okay. So we're going to put a little of this dressing on top.
Okay, GZ,
Can I get mine in a bread bowl, please?
Just a tahini drizzle, and then some of my favorite things are shallots that are fried.
Ooh, fried shells.
can't
You can
Get
buy
those in the
those
can.
now.
Yeah, they're addictive.
Really?
Yeah.
And some fresh dill. There you go. Creamless mushroom soup.
Bring it, GZ.
Here, let
You
me give
better
you
keep making bowls of that. Jeff and I want to try it.
Now, normally at home, I would go and find a bubble tea straw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I could see
And I
that.
would make this happen. I love a soup like this. You put in an insulated cup and take it to work with you.
Oh, look at that plating, Jeffers.
First of all, this is the most well-balanced soup I've had in a very long time. And by balanced, I mean the sherry that you added at the end. You know, this is a mushroom, so it's from the earth. You need to bring something to it that's gonna bring it up a little bit out of the dirt. But what really works this is that tahini, that sesame seed sauce that you made. It's like the umami of your people, you know what I'm saying? And then the dill comes through with that bright note at the end as well with the sherry. This is just,
This is awesome.
can I do this? Is
Yes, you can. Look at this. It's
like
cheap,
if I
too.
try the recipe and I actually
This is
make
not
it sound
expensive.
like
Starting with puff pastry, pre-made. Nothing easier. Alex, you're gonna be my sous chef for this. And this is so easy. And the best part about it is you make them, you cut them, you freeze them up to 3 months ahead, even if you want to even like long play it. Now let's work on that filling. Couple classic ingredients. Of course, you got artichoke.
Yep.
Then you got cream cheese, softened, room temperature. You can buy the whipped cream cheese that comes.
Get to it right away.
Oh, right, but look at that. That's the texture you want, something schmearable like that. All right, so either take the time to keep it out for a couple hours or buy the pre-whipped stuff, then the spinach, frozen spinach, thawed, extracted of all that water, squeezed out with cheesecloth, or you can use a kitchen towel or even paper towels. Just a couple pinches of dry chilies in there and Parmesan. You need that baked in, pungency of the Parmesan in that dip. We're gonna hit it with a little salt, some pepper. Alex, you're doing a great job. There's another sheet in there for me. We're each gonna have one. Yeah, lay it out horizontally like that. Perfect. Got a little flour in there.
Yep.
Make sure you let your puff pastry thaw out before you try to work it, but it usually happens like that.
Yeah,
Room
so much-
temperature, so quickly.
I mean, the more fat there is in something, the faster it defrosts.
This looks great. I'm gonna take one of these, Alex.
Take
little
whatever.
bench flour. All right, so we have our filling. We're gonna split it. Alex, if you have, grab a little spatula, and just like a sandwich, just like mayo on a sub, we are gonna go crust to crust.
is a must.
Even Steven. So you don't want it spilling out the sides, but you do want those end pieces, which there is some charm in having like something that's just puff pastry with just a little little sprinkling of filling.
It's the end of the hot dog.
And that's like the one that I'm eating right out of the oven, but I'm not gonna give to my guests, you know? Then some nice hot or mild or sweet Italian sausage that we've, you know, really developed a lot of flavors by giving it a hard sear in that pan, but you also want it super crumbly. You don't want too big chunks, you know? You let it drain either in a fine mesh strainer or just some paper towels on a plate. These make 40 pinwheels, so this is plenty. 20 each.
Okay.
Now we're gonna roll it.
It smells really good, right like this.
And these don't need to be piping hot either. They could be
No,
warm.
room
You
temp.
can keep them by the warm part, and then they'll stay nice. So I'm gonna roll it up. You got a chef's knife here. We're gonna do a little Geoffrometry here and cut these into 20 pieces, hopefully.
Wow.
I did, last time I took a math class.
Oh, you're daring. You didn't even do a middle slide. You look
Look
at,
at that.
okay, that's your
I
inside.
just want to look at that. I just want to show it.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Pretty and beautifully layered is, and then you
I'd
got
take
that
that
guy.
over a cinnamon roll.
So how thick are we talking about?
Chef's
A half an
treat.
inch?
Yeah. Guess what it's gonna do in the oven, Alex?
Puff
It's gonna
up.
puff up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like this.
Well, you could put that back in the fridge, let it firm up a bit. It gets easier to cut, no?
Well,
course.
very much so. Okay, and these are gonna go and freeze on the sheet pan. All right, so Alex, we're gonna egg wash these before we put them in the freezer.
Oh, okay.
That
Even
way,
less prep.
they're literally ready to go. There's
what-
no other step.
Now, what are we talking? Just a little paint
Just a
job
little,
like that?
little.
Is that a
on
unit
top.
of measurement?
That is. Now these are frozen, right?
Oui, chef.
Egg washed, 375, 25 to 30 minutes until puffed and golden. I got some here rested, ready to go.
I'm gonna tear these up.
Look at you.
And come on, you walk into somebody's
Ooh
casa
la la. That
and you
looks
see
great.
these just beautifully
Let's not
arranged.
forget, Thanksgiving is also game day. This is very
Oh,
game day
please.
vibes for me.
Oh, come on, you
Yeah.
smell it, you're like, what am I eating? I'm eating sausage, I'm eating spinach artichoke dip. All right,
Sonny,
try
what do
them
you
out.
think?
There you go, Geoffrey.
Thank you.
Now, like this, wrapped in plastic in the freezer, goodbye. Firm
That's it.
them up and
Firm
then
'em up.
pack them up.
This is artichoke dip with sausage. It's so tasty.
Go wrong. I mean,
Nice and salty, and I love that little hit of the red chili flake. Actually, I got a little piece back there like,
uh-oh, you weren't expecting
I
it.
wasn't, and I like it.
It slows your guests down too.
Listen, it's buttery, it's delicious. What can I say? I'm gonna do this.
Easy rosemary deviled potatoes. What do you guys think?
Sonny, you could devil just about anything and it would be delicious.
Well, Katie, this is really an homage to you because I know you always say it's not a party unless there are deviled eggs.
That is true.
And since people are used to having like scalloped potatoes maybe around this holiday season, I thought we'd do a mashup of the two and really go mash them up. So I've got some red bliss potatoes in here. We're going to boil them and infuse them with some rosemary. So drop that in there. Nice bit of salt to season it up. And then over the top, some water. You don't get the water hot before you put the potatoes into the pot. You wanna make sure the water and the potatoes and everything else cooks at the same time so the outside and the very inside of the potatoes are nice and tender. And that's what we're going for here, fork tender, so it shouldn't take too long. So I'm gonna start up that pot right there, but let me show you what it looks like. Now, I've got them here on the sheet. It's really smart to bring them out of the pot, but this is what it is here. Find its natural bottom, right? And then just come through and get a nice slice. And that's gonna go into our bowl and become the filling. Just kind of like when you devil the eggs, you wanna scoop out the center. This is gonna remind you of a twice-baked potato that we did not bake twice. We didn't even bake it, okay? We just boil it really quick. And if you get those potatoes in the bag that you can steam, just steam them like maybe 2 minutes under the recommended amount of time, and they'll be perfect for this recipe.
Hey, Sonny, is there a reason you're using red bliss potatoes for this?
Yeah, I mean, I like Red Bliss. They're easy to find. I like the waxy, content of them. But you can also use new potatoes that are yellow skin or brown skin, if you will. And I like to do this with 3 pounds, but a half recipe is great for your backyard party. Okay, so they're in our food processor here. What I'm gonna add to that to add some flavor, now remember they're already infused with the rosemary, so a little bit of lemon zest. And then it could be sour cream or what I love to use, which is whole fat Greek yogurt. And then to that, some grained Dijon mustard. Get that in there.
Those are great flavors. I like the combination of lemon, rosemary.
You know, I feel like potatoes are good by themselves. You just boil them and sprinkle over some salt and pepper and you're good to go. But if we're gonna make a presentation and we're gonna double them, might as well fill them up with something nice and bright, like a little bit of lemon zest. You can also do orange zest. That would be fun right here as well. But we're just keeping it simple with the lemon zest, a little bit of whole fat Greek yogurt, and the whole grain mustard. Now you see, lots of pepper. And then to the side here, just a little bit of that water that we boil the potatoes in. It's gonna help it be a little bit loose so we can pipe it later on. Not too much, okay? Now this is a important part. You don't wanna overmix this because it'll become kind of gluey and sticky. So you just wanna turn it on and pulse it. Just mix it. And you see as you get in here, it's getting to that texture where you say to yourself, all right, I can get this into a piping bag and go to town. So that's what we're gonna do right now. And here is everything in here. Remember the tops of the potatoes, little lemon zest. And then you just kind of squeeze it out. See all those little pieces of mustard? Get in there. You gotta give it the curb appeal, so the piping is great. If you don't want to put this in a plastic bag and cut off the corner, you can always just do what I call the 2-spoon method. All right, over the top, just some chives. And then a little deviled egg curb appeal from my youth. My mom used to always hit the deviled eggs with a little bit of paprika. Now, you know this is my hot Hungarian paprika, but you can use sweet or smoked. And just hit it high so everything gets an even distribution of the paprika. And there you have it. Perfect for Easter. We break the rules and make it delicious.
Antipasto salad with prosciutto-wrapped breadsticks. I'm gonna make the dressing first, and I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of olive brine since I'm gonna be topping the salad with a bunch of olives. And this is gonna add really nice acidity and a lot of salt. So I'm not gonna need to add any more salt after the brine. I'll add a teaspoon of mustard, add that little zinginess. I'll whisk this together. And as I whisk, I'm gonna drizzle in some olive oil. Okay, this says thicken, it's creamy. I'm gonna add some black pepper. And that's it for the dressing. I'll grab the greens. I'm using a mix of spinach and arugula here. Spinach is just great and tender, and arugula gives that awesome peppery bite. I wanna toss it with my dressing, and I'm doing it now because once all of the antipasto toppings are on there, I don't wanna have to toss it because they're so pretty as they are. I'll get these completely coated. And I always use a nice big, wide serving platter for this. And now I'll pretty up this salad with some beautiful antipasto elements. Here are all of my favorite foods, a bunch of cheese and loads of meat, and now I'm gonna pile them on top of these grains. I'm gonna start with some Parmesan cheese, and I love to really bite into my Parmesan cheese, so rather than grating it, I've crumbled it, and I'm gonna keep all of the toppings in their own little piles. That way people can grab the things that they like and arrange their own salad adventure. Next, I'd like to do the olives. Ugh, I love olives. I used to hate olives, but learning to love olives is just part of becoming a grown-up. I'll add some roasted red peppers for color and smokiness. I like this salad in the dead of winter when it's sometimes hard to come across good fresh vegetables. It's a good standby. A few creamy artichokes. A big ol' handful of salty, fatty salami. You'll find me at this section of the salad plate. Some pickled sweet peppers. Wow, these are so bright. Some juicy tomatoes. Put them right next to the Parmesan because tomatoes need a little salt and Parmesan is really salty. A perfect pair. I'm leaving a section in the center for some marinated mozzarella balls. because they look really cute. I'll tear them up and plop them in the middle. So this salad is inspired by this gigantic antipasto spread at this restaurant right behind Carnegie Hall. I used to go there with my dad after he would play concerts there, and it was the best thing ever. There was so much cheese and meat. And now there's one last open spot. I'll slice up a sweet pear. I'll pile these right on and drizzle them with a little balsamic glaze. It's sweet and sticky and really pretty. And now comes the time where I get to wrap these breadsticks with prosciutto, which is really good. They get a little soft when they're wrapped in prosciutto because they soak up the fat, and they're fun to eat. So I'm gonna take half a slice of prosciutto and just wrap it around a breadstick. Just like that. I'll plop this on the salad and then keep unwrapping. Prosciutto is so good. How pretty is this? And now for the final touch, I'll tear some fresh basil all over. Fresh basil makes me feel like I'm in Italy.
I'm making an oldie but goodie with a totally new twist. It's my BK Currywurst pull apart pigs in a blanket.
Pull apart?
Pull apart, baby.
it.
We've got the puff pastry out. It's kind of like room temp so we can ply it and get that seam nice and soft. We've rolled it out just a little bit flat. And then we've got these cocktail weenies here.
Yeah.
The pig in a blanket, you know.
Love those.
Ground. So we're gonna look here and say, okay, we want a little bit of the end to stick out. So I'm just going to mark about how much I want to use of the dough. And I'm just gonna go and make strips the same size. That might be a little bit smaller. So I'm just gonna go through and run my knife down to the end. And the goal here is not to just really go like a super crazy overlap, so then I'm gonna know it's about right there. So that's for the sizing. But before we go to cut all of these up, my flavor profile is currywurst. Very simple. Just get some yellow curry powder out of your pantry, a light dusting, and that's gonna be our flavor profile on the inside of the pigs in the blanket. So Katie, go ahead and roll it. And then I've got a springform pan here with a single serve ramekin in the very center. That's gonna be the receptacle for the dip. And all I'm gonna do is just get this in. You can do a little bit of cooking spray around the end. You're gonna pinch. You see, I'm noticing I'm pinching the end there. Not too hard because this is puff pastry. We want it to puff up. And then I'm gonna use that seam to be the actual place that I put up against something so it'll kind of hold itself. You just go all the way around your springform here with all of your little weenies. I'm gonna hook you up right here, Katie.
Yeah, let me help you out here. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm at a cocktail party and the pig in the blankets come out,
I'm there. Because this is puff pastry, we all know, it puffs up way better when it goes into the oven cold, all right?
Yeah. Very excited to see this.
Yeah. All right, just like this.
Ah,
okay. So I'm gonna put this into the oven. Oh yeah, you can applause that. We'll put this into the oven at 425 degrees.
I gotta see this.
Uncovered, okay? It's gonna get nice and golden brown. Then you're gonna bring it out, cover it up, and then cook it for about 25 more minutes. Oh. Okay, but this is for a party, so it's worth it, you know? Well, the first cook uncovered is all about the color. The second cook covered is all about making sure it's not gummy and stuff like that. Yeah. There we go.
Sonny did it.
Get that down. Wait, there's more. A really quick curry ketchup that you could make. Ketchup, get it into a pot. And, you know, we talk about toasting up all of those spices, so you're gonna get your curry powder in, a little bit of honey to smooth it out. And then what I like to say is way more pepper than you expect. So just grind until you can't anymore. Stir that up, let it all work together. Good room temp is good. And then there you go.
Arancini. First of all, we're gonna make risotto. It's made with rice, stock, and any sort of addition you want to flavor your risotto with. In this case, sausage. So I have some nice sausage. You can use spicy sausage, regular sausage. I have onions and sausage in my pot. I'm just frying it down just to get it nice and sweaty, get that fat out, because that fat is what's gonna help make this so flavorful. So when it's like this, I'm gonna add my arborio rice. This is rice that's really round and it's full of starch. It's perfect to make risotto. Total time to cook risotto is about 18 minutes. We're just toasting the risotto carefully. You don't want it too hot, about medium heat. And just when it feels like it's kind of sticking on the bottom, not too much, it's gonna take about a minute. Then you wanna add a little white wine. That's all the pan being cleaned by the wine. All right, so once that wine evaporates and all cooks down, it gets kind of like almost sticky again, you're gonna start adding hot chicken stock or vegetable stock or beef stock. We're gonna ladle it in. We just wanna cover the risotto. No more than that, just cover it. Turn it down, medium heat. Shake it once in a while, and then when it gets a little dry, you add more. We're gonna do that 3 times, and then we're gonna add our cheese and our butter and all our great garnishes. All right, our risotto has been reduced 3 times with liquid. Look how fat the rice has gotten, that's good. We're gonna take it over to our countertop. We're gonna stir it, and to this, it's warm. You can see the heat still coming off it, which you need to melt everything. We're gonna add Parmesan cheese. The cheesier, the better, right? Some chopped chives. All at once, just dump it in, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Stir it in like that. Look how delicious. All right. We're gonna put that aside. Get a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. We're just gonna pour that out. Give it a quick spread, and we're gonna put it in the refrigerator. Now, I recommend you do this really at least 3 or 4 hours. The cheese and the starch are really gonna tighten up. Spread it evenly. So in the fridge we go. All right, Feb station, what does that mean? F, flour, E, egg, B, breadcrumb. In this case, this is panko ground, even better, nice and crispy. And this is how you fry everything. So the crust remains on it, it doesn't split while you're frying it. So I'm gonna take a little scoop here, it's about a 1-ounce scoop. So we have it now where it's pretty much covering everything. And then we're just gonna shape it lightly. You don't have to we're not making meatballs, all right? So you just wanna, just lightly, like that. And I have a bunch here, okay? When you're ready to fry, you get some canola oil or vegetable oil on at about 350 degrees. And what I like to do, a little secret, is I like to put 2 or 3 balls in a spider like this, or 4 in this case, and we don't drop it in because you don't want to splatter. We just go like that. So these are gonna fry for about 3 or 4 minutes until they kind of float and get nice and crispy. Now look how golden they are. Look, and they've all held their shapes beautiful. Nothing, no grease has gone in, the crust has stayed on. We're gonna put them on that paper towel. Here we go, we're gonna take them over to our plate, and I like to garnish them as so. So I'm gonna put them on a plate here, and I serve them with 2 sauces. This is a little chimichurri sauce that I made into sort of a pesto-ish, and also a store-bought spicy marinara, so you don't have to work too much, right? One I made, one I bought. And always, always in my house, a little fresh grated Romano and some fresh chives.
I'm making a corn dog batter with flour and cornmeal and sugar, but instead of doing like, you know, the run-of-the-mill corn dog on a stick, I'm making them bite-sized. Kids are gonna be running around, why not make them bite-sized? So I've cut up 4 hot dogs. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna make my batter now. I have 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I've melted, adding it to a bowl with a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a 1/2 cup of buttermilk, and 1 egg. Give it a whisk. Right now for my dry, I have a 1/2 cup of yellow cornmeal. I'm gonna add a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Give it a mix. Now I'm gonna add my wet to my dry. Little sweet, a little salty. Whisk it together. All right, I have a mini muffin tin that I've sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. I have a little mini cookie scooper here. I wanna scoop out my batter. 1 scoop should do the trick. And then put my little pieces of hot dog in the center. You wanna fill your mini muffin tin halfway. You don't want to fill it all the way to the top because you got to make room for your hot dog. So I'm gonna just put them directly in the center, and when it bakes up, it's gonna kind of like cover it, so the little hot dog is gonna peek in the middle. All right, so I have my oven preheated to 375. I'm gonna bake these off for about 10 minutes. The big debate, ketchup or mustard on your hot dog? I am a mustard girl, and I don't feel like figuring out what these kids like, so I'm gonna combine the both. So I've got some Dijon mustard here I'm gonna put in the bowl. I wanna try to do equal parts. Ketchup, a little bit of honey just to make it sweet, and some mayo. Give it a little creaminess. 2 heavy spoonfuls mayo. A little salt and pepper to give it a little flavor. So simple, and it satisfies everyone's craving. Let me give it a taste. That is really the best of both worlds. I taste a little bit of the ketchup, I taste the Dijon, I taste the honey, and then the mayo just makes it creamy. Smell that sweet cornmeal batter. Oh, look at these golden brown. They're so cute and mini. These are gonna be great for the carnival, but you know what? You can actually serve these at a birthday party. I promise you they'll be a hit.
Bay leaves, water, no salt, none, 0. Peppercorns, end of story.
Bold!
Right here, I have my shrimp. They're U16, U12, U11, it's per pound. So U16 are slightly smaller, U8s are jumbos, big ones. Anything too big, it becomes like a first course entree. It's chewy, it's too much shrimp at one time. Yeah. This is something you should dip with the tail into the sauce, eat it, throw this tail away, and go back for more right away.
So just to clarify, U12 means a pound is under 12 pieces.
Yes.
Is a pound in weight, which is a medium size. So a U8 under 8 is bigger.
Giant.
As the numbers get smaller, the shrimp gets bigger.
U1's a lobster.
Are you ready? Ketchup. Do you use ketchup when you're making this?
Love.
Okay.
What else would you use?
Well, there's other chili sauce and stuff like that.
No.
I use ketchup.
That's the best.
Okay.
The shinier, the better.
Yeah. Horseradish, like so much, it's ridiculous.
Jeffrey, that is a lot of
Yes,
horseradish.
it is. Okay, be careful. Hot sauce,
Who are you?
a little bit of chili,
Oh, a little
sweet chili glaze, yeah.
Chili glaze. Wow.
Lemon juice. Whoa. Worcestershire sauce.
There it is from the hometown.
I can't with the sweet chili sauce. That really surprised me. I
That's
love
it.
that.
So it should not appear red. It should appear almost like that. You see that? We're gonna let that sit and hang out. Now, our shrimp are going in.
Uh-oh.
Right here. I let that cook just for a little bit just to get some of that. It's changed color. The peppercorn has changed color of the water. In boiling water. And now what we're gonna do is the most important thing. I don't keep my shrimp on ice. I don't put my shrimp in an ice bath after because guess what they soak up? Water.
Water.
And I put them in the fridge after I cook them on this right away.
No shocking.
No shocking whatsoever because it's another step. It's another waste of water and waste of time in a dish you gotta prepare. It shouldn't be hard to do this. This shrimp was thawed in the fridge overnight. I bought it peeled, cleaned, ready to go, frozen.
Wow.
Okay? You don't have to buy fresh shrimp for this. So now we're just gonna mend and we're gonna take our time and look at this. You see?
What
right
are
away,
you
they're always
doing?
starting to curl a bit. So if you can see right now, they're starting to get white and translucent. This is gonna take not a lot of time, but you must cook them fully. I would err on the side of, should I say this? Of slightly overcooking them. If you're gonna go this route, be careful, you don't wanna undercook them.
Somebody write
undercooked
down the
shrimp.
date.
The nose heat is getting to his brain, I think.
Yeah,
When you cut a shrimp in half that's cooked, it should be white the whole time.
You're moving them around a lot as
I
you
am.
cook. Why are you doing that?
Just because they'll cook evenly. This is just a little method. I don't have a lot of water. I don't have this big pot of water.
not a
These
boil.
go right on a paper towel.
You did it.
They're fully cooked. I'm gonna let you just take a smell of that. And you tell me what you smell. Just pass it down.
Just shrimp.
Okay, you don't smell lemon?
You don't spell
Yeah.
Smell the
5,000
shrimp.
exotic, weird.
It smells like shrimp cocktail. The good
Old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned.
Shrimp cocktail. In the fridge, just like this, uncovered. In 5 minutes, it cools down. You're ready to serve it. That's it.
Can you blast chill it in the freezer?
No, you don't have to do that.
Frisky?
Don't waste your time.
All right.
Put some more Sinatra on, make another martini.
There you go.
Okay.
That sounds delicious. A dirty martini and a shrimp
Oh,
cocktail?
nothing like it. Now, I don't
Get
put
'em
these
hot.
on ice when I serve them, shock them, or store them. They're always off ice. You put these out in small quantities, not large quantities, so they get eaten, then you take out more small quantities and fill up. You don't put like a whole stuff on ice. I hate them when they're on ice, because invariably you get a piece of ice and you're eating ice.
I hate that.
Okay, you ready? Here's our beautiful spicy sauce. This should destroy my nose. And that's where I like it to be
Wow,
at.
very aggressive approach.
Geoffrey.
I think your septum's gonna melt.
Here we go.
Ooh.
Ready?
Oh my
Stage
God.
5 clinger.
My mouth is watering.
It is. Snappy. Snappy the shrimp. Uh-oh.
Good. You saw the horseradish. It's not too much. The sweet chili sauce actually tames it down. The long-range effect of this is you want more, and that's what a shrimp cocktail should want you to make. And this is so delicious. This sauce I just made for you, you can make a big batch of it. It's one of these things that lasts, actually gets better.
I just love soup, especially in the fall. It just warms you up. And this is a real fail-proof recipe, and it's delicious. I'm gonna show you how to do this butternut squash soup. Jeff, you're gonna help me out here. So if you can just take that apple, cut it off the core, make it into about 6 big slices.
Okay.
Same with this, just cut it in some slices.
Got it.
We're gonna roast all of these ingredients first. So I've got about 2.5 pounds of butternut squash here cubed up. It's 4 cups. You can buy this already cubed if you want to,
so much easier.
cut down. It's so much easier. Or you can do it yourself if you want to break down a butternut squash. I put it all right on the tray.
Just like that?
And just like
And
that.
the onion too, just kind of
Onion goes on there too. And in the meantime, I've got 4 cups of chicken broth over here simmering. And I made this little herb sachet with some thyme and a bay leaf and a clove of garlic in here. And I just let that simmer for about 10 minutes and it kind of blooms all that flavor in there. It's just a cheesecloth with a little kitchen twine. I put a nice generous amount of olive oil. So I'm just gonna do a little salt and pepper on here.
I love the addition of the apple too, kind of bring out sweetness of
sweeten it
the
up.
butternut.
Yeah, it sweetens it up. And this way, you don't have to be sauteing the onions or anything like that. You just put it all on the sheet pan and let the oven do the work for you. So this goes into the oven, 400 degrees for about 45 minutes. Okay, so it comes out
Great.
like this, nice and pretty.
Beautiful color.
And then you just go over here to your chicken broth and put it right in.
You know you can add some like ginger to that too.
Okay, I'm gonna season with a little bit more salt and pepper. And then this just needs to simmer for about 20 minutes. We're gonna fish out our little sachet. Use an immersion blender
Oh, you want me to
to
immerse
blend
it?
it up.
The best tool
Now-
in the kitchen.
It is the best.
It's such an easy tool. You don't have to, put
Transfer,
it into
no.
the blender and do the transfer. If you don't have one of these though, use your blender. So to serve this, what I did was I got this pretty little pumpkin here at the patch and I hollowed it out and we're gonna use this for the soup. How's it going over there?
I think we're just about perf right
Okay.
now because I am the immersion king.
All right, Immersion King, well, take that soup and pour it right in here.
Here we go. You ready?
Oh,
The
Ready.
old butternut cascade.
This is perfect for a party.
Festive gooey brie crescent wreath. So it started out with good old crescent rolls from the can that you buy in the refrigerated section of the grocery store. And I actually separated all of the little triangles first. And then I put a bowl in the center of a parchment-lined sheet pan. And I am gonna make sort of a star going around this bowl. I'm gonna keep going until I've got all the triangles on the pan. I got all these laid out, so look at this, Alex. I'm going around where all of these pieces of crescent dough are overlapping, and I'm just pressing them to kind of close the seams and give us a little flat surface to work with. Okay, so for one of the cranberry elements, I'm doing cranberry jelly, and I'm gonna spoon probably a total of 1/3 cup on the solid section. All right, and then I'll kind of smear it around. And the bowl comes in handy because then you don't get the gooey stuff in the very center. All right, and then the brie. Oh my gosh, I love brie cheese. I've just got a wheel of brie that I cut into pieces. You can cut the rind off if you want to, but you don't have to. Delicious. The combination of brie and cranberry is pure magic. And then I've got some pistachios, which is so great, both from a crunch and flavor perspective, but also from a color perspective. And then for a second cranberry punch, dried cranberries. All right, so now I'm gonna take out the bowl, if I can. There we go. And then I'm gonna fold the end over into the center, and then you just tuck the little point neatly. And then I'm gonna do the same thing all around, and I'm gonna try to leave as few gaps as I possibly can. Okay, so I got that all formed, and you can see, Alex, there really aren't any big gaps, because just think of the gaps as a breach.
A brie.
Through which the brie can ooze, and you don't want that to happen. So after you've got the wreath formed, I've got a beaten egg, and I'm just gonna brush the egg over the surface of the very fine crescent roll dough. All right, and then after you get it totally brushed with egg, sprinkle on some rosemary.
Wow.
Oh, wow, the flavors are amazing. And this is so perfect right before Thanksgiving meal. If everybody comes to your host's house really hungry. All right, and then some sea salt. All right, let's put this into the oven. Look how cool this looks.
It looks so good.
It's gonna bake at 375 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. And you are gonna fall madly in love with what it looks like. All right, Alex, look how beautiful.
Wow.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Turned out so beautiful.
It really did. And so I'll show you how I like to serve it. I've got a little tray. You definitely want to let it cool before you transfer it off the pan, just to make sure it's not too soft and gooey. So
Wow. Great work.
get it onto the tray. And then if you're serving it right away, this is how I like to do it. So the first thing is a little bit of honey. Gives it a little bit of sweetness, and it gives the pistachios that you're gonna garnish it with something to stick to, something to cling to. We all need something to cling to. All right, and then some more dried cranberries, just for kicks. Isn't this gorgeous? And then just some beautiful little sprigs of rosemary here and there. Oh my.
So we're gonna use a California avocado that's nice and ripe. I take the bottom of my knife and I kind of turn it, and I just push it off with my thumb, and this way you get right to the flesh of the avocado. Kind of make diamonds right in the shell. And then I can scoop it out with a spoon. I like my avocados, whether it's a guacamole or some kind of relish, I like it to be chunky as opposed to pureed. All right, so how are we gonna flavor this? A little bit of red onion, jalapenos. I mean, I think that you have to be careful with the chilies. I like to have heat kind of all the way through it, but you know, sort of a little bit as it kind of builds in each one of the components. And then some cilantro. For all the cilantro haters out there, try it again. That's what I keep saying. We're building cilantro love all over the country, little by little. If you don't like cilantro, obviously you can leave it out. You can put something like Italian parsley in it, but it's just not the same. And again, I like to coarsely chop this, not too fine, and then some fresh lime juice. So then I'm gonna take some black pepper and some salt, just with a fork, just gonna mash the avocado. We're gonna keep it nice and chunky. Spicy, creamy, crispy, and very Mexican.
I'm revisiting a lunch classic. Instead of vichyssoise, I'm making roasted potato leek soup with crispy shallots. So I've got 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes peeled, and I've got these huge leeks. I need about 4 cups of diced leeks. Okay, onto a roasting pan, the potatoes and the leeks. Okay, olive oil. Can't roast that olive oil. Good olive oil. I use California olive oil. Okay, lots of salt and pepper. Make sure it has great flavor. I'm going to roast this at 400 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes, just until the potatoes are really nice and tender. And then I'm going to add some arugula. After it's roasted for 40 to 45 minutes, I'm going to add about 3 cups of arugula. It's got a really nice peppery flavor. I'm going to put it back in the oven for 5 minutes until the arugula just wilts, and it just adds that extra depth of flavor that I'm looking for. So what I've done is I've roasted the potatoes and the leeks, bring out the flavor in them, just thrown in some arugula at the last minute, just enough to wilt it. Now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of white wine, about 1/2 cup, to the pan, just to scrape off all those brown bits that give a sauce so much flavor, and I'm going to make sure it gives the soup lots of flavor. And it gets absorbed in the potato. I'm just going to give it lots of great flavor. Okay, that's all done. So I'm just going to take it and put it in the food processor. What I'm looking for is a soup that's smooth but has some texture. So I'm just going to pour that half in. I'll have to do it in 2 batches. These vegetables smell fantastic. So I'm just going to add some chicken stock. I'm going to use about 5 cups total, just enough to blend this. I want it coarse but chunky. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the puree. Now I'm going to make it into soup. Just turn it on low heat. I'm going to add a little more chicken stock. It's about 5 cups total, but just enough until it's the right consistency. You want it thick, but not, you don't want it to taste like a vegetable. You want it to taste like soup. So just whisk it in. This is pretty thick. A lot depends on how much starch is in the potatoes. I'm going to add a little cream. And since it's a French soup, I'm going to add a little creme fraiche. So about 3/4 cup of cream, just to give it a nice richness. And then 8 ounces of creme fraiche, which gives it a little sour, sort of tart flavor. This is going to be wonderful. I thought it'd be great to contrast the texture of the creamy soup with something crispy like these crispy shallots. Here's how you do them. Just add 1.5 cups of light olive oil to a saucepan with 3 tablespoons of butter. Put it in a thermometer and turn the heat on medium-low. Meantime, slice 6 shallots in thin rings. You want crispy? You've got to have thin rings. When the oil and butter reach 220 degrees, you're all ready. So turn the heat to low and add the shallots. They'll take about 30 to 40 minutes to cook. Keep the temperature below 260 degrees so they don't burn. When they're golden brown, take them out with a slotted spoon and spread them onto paper towels to dry. Then the soup gets ladled into bowls, and the finishing touches, extra Parmesan cheese and those fabulous crispy shallots.
So I've got chunks of ribeye steak, and I tried to cut off the big pieces of fat and gristle, but of course the fat in a ribeye is part of where the flavor comes from. And I'm tossing the beef in melted butter and just good old grill seasoning, whatever your favorite seasoning is for steak, basically. And the secret is to use a pretty good cut of beef. So these are ribeyes. All right, I have a very, very hot cast iron skillet, and look out. This is gonna make a lot of noise. And the secret here is you wanna push the steak all into a single layer. So you want a pretty big skillet if you can get it. That way you can get them all cooked in one batch. All right, so I'm gonna leave the steak alone for the first minute and let it really sear. And then I'll kind of start flipping it and stirring it. Probably cook the beef for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's medium rare.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, look at that.
It smells amazing.
Now, just before these were done, I actually turned the heat down under the skillet. So it's more on a medium low. So I'm gonna add some more butter to the mix. And look at how just dirty the skillet is. And by dirty, I mean coated in like beef flavor and seasoning, that brown butter, and then I'm adding more butter on top of that. And I've got some minced rosemary. It kind of adds a little bit of elegance to whatever you're making. And
I'd agree.
Really goes with beef. There's something about rosemary and beef that just knocks my socks off. Okay, now I'm just stirring to kind of start cooking the garlic. I don't want it to burn, and that's part of why I turned the skillet down. Turn it up just a little bit. And now I'm gonna go in with some heavy cream. This is a creamy blue cheese sauce.
Wow.
I mean, wow. There are no other words than wow. And then a couple of big spoonfuls of prepared horseradish, which is very beef friendly, especially around the holidays. I love roast beef and horseradish sauce. Delicious. Blue cheese. I think blue cheese is definitely one of those controversial ingredients, but when you add it to a creamy sauce like this, it just kind of makes it a little bit more mild. You get all of that yummy kind of interest of the blue cheese, and it's not overpowering like blue cheese can sometimes be. Ho, ho, ho,
Oh my
ho,
gosh.
ho, ho. It looks incredible. And then I have some chives. I'm gonna save back a few. And honestly, that is basically it. A little bit of black pepper, or a lot of black pepper.
The rosemary smells amazing.
Heaven. That is sheer heaven. So, to serve, I'm gonna add the beef to a little serving dish. Okay, and then after you add the beef, you see all this stuff in the bowl? You have got to drizzle that over. That cannot go to waste.
Wow.
Okay, I'm actually gonna try, I was gonna spoon this, but I think I'm gonna try to pour it. What?
I'm nervous.
I can do it. I can do this. I'm a trained professional. Just goes in the center well. And look at that. Absolute heaven in a serving vessel. Chives can go over the meat. They can go right in the center of the sauce. But I'm gonna cheat and grab a little bite. Should I?
Oh my gosh.
Merry Christmas.
Deviled eggs with bacon. Such a classic, so good. Start with some boiling water. Just add your eggs. We're gonna cook these in the boiling water covered for 11 minutes and start on the bacon. Cast iron skillet for the bacon is the best if you've got one. You can see I'm cutting it, I don't know, about 1/2 inch and go right in the skillet water. And you're thinking, Alex, aren't we trying to make crispy bacon here? We're gonna cook this water out that we put in here and watch it then cook down, and get even crispier and less greasy. Now let's make the devil part of the deviled egg. Dijon mustard, add that right in. Worcestershire sauce, apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon of hot sauce, some lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Okay, and now for that little secret thing. I feel like everybody has that secret to great deviled eggs. Mine is a little bit of heavy cream. You can just hand whip this because it's such a small amount. Okay, that's beautiful. 2-3 scallions maybe. And this is really for garnish. Let's look at these babies. And then another thing is cooling them. The truth is I just pop them in the sink and run some cold water over them. The bacon, I kind of turned it down for that last minute or two. Beautiful crispy bacon. Drain that on a paper towel or a kitchen towel. Very hard not to eat at least half of that. And then just start peeling. Here are our eggs. I'm nervous. Now, cut the egg in half. Pretty good. Look at this. So we're gonna take those yolks and separate them from the whites. Take the back of a spoon or even a spatula and just push them through the strainer. And we're doing this because then we won't get that kind of lumpy deviled egg. Add those sieved yolks right in there. Ooh, it's making me hungry. Cream that we whipped earlier. Just gently fold that in. Tiny pinch salt, I feel. Take a bag, cut yourself a little corner. Fit the pastry tip in there, see that? Spoon the yolk mix in there. Coarse salt and just sprinkle it over the whites. Bit of the white part of the scallion. Tiny, tiny bit of pepper. Just a tiny bit of paprika. Start filling those eggs. Ooh, yeah. Now we're doing the green part of the scallion, just a little bit. You see how that crisped up so beautifully, just cooling a little bit? I put out a platter like this, comes back clean. Right in there, stop it. Maybe we make this whole platter and we actually don't share it. You just eat the whole thing in the kitchen and tell people to order takeout.
I love going to the market and just seeing what's fresh, what's in season, and then just coming home and taking everything and making something delicious with it. So today I'm going to make tomato crostini with whipped feta. What it is crostini toast, and then I'm going to make a creamy feta spread, and on top I'm going to put those delicious cherry tomatoes. It's a great combination. So I'm starting out with 6 ounces of feta, 2 ounces of cream cheese. I want to be sure it's really room temperature so it mixes in well. Process these two together just for a minute, just until they're combined. Okay, now some good stuff. 1/3 cup of olive oil. That should be perfect. 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Just gonna do it right in. A little strainer always helps to take the seeds out. 2 tablespoons is about 1 lemon, more or less. There's no substitute for fresh lemon. Okay, that should be about 2 tablespoons. Fantastic. And now just some salt and pepper. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Just give it a whir. So there are 3 parts to this recipe. There's the creamy feta spread, there's the toast that it's going to go on, and the tomatoes. I've got the bread in the oven. So what I did for the crostini is I took a baguette, I sliced it diagonally about 1/2 inch thick, and then brushed it with olive oil and baked them at 425 for about 6 to 8 minutes, just until they're crisp. Okay, that's the crostini, next the tomato topping. Okay, in a small bowl, put together 2 tablespoons of minced shallots, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and 2 tablespoons of good red wine vinegar. And if you have the time, just let that sit for about 5 minutes so the vinegar really gets into the shallots. When the time's up, add 1/3 cup of good olive oil, a teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Next, the star ingredient of the recipe, 2 pounds of ripe cherry tomatoes. I got them at the market. Just stir it all together, set it aside for like 10 minutes, just for the flavors to develop. Then one last ingredient, 3 tablespoons of julienne fresh basil leaves. And that's the topping. So I've got all the elements all together, and I'm just assembling them. So there's a little toast, and the whipped feta, and the tomatoes right on top, with fresh basil. It's gonna be delicious. And a few pine nuts. Right on the tray. Those look good enough to eat. A little basil on top. Basil smells so good. I think he's gonna love what we got at the farmer's market. Hi, sweetie. I don't want you claiming I'm starving you to death while you're working.
Oh, I'm wasting away here.
So it's a crostini and whipped feta and tomatoes that we got at the farmer's market.
Oh, that looks unbelievable.
I hope you love it. Is that good?
This is fantastic.
It's my Parmesan fried onion. To start, I'm gonna chop off the top of an onion. And this is a large yellow onion. I'll place it cut side down, that way it's stable. And then I'm gonna envision that this onion is the face of a clock. I wanna make cuts in each of the hours, about a 1/2 inch from that center root so that it all stays together when I fry it. So I'll start at 12. I'm getting a little emotional. Gorgeous. That was the hardest part. I'll turn it over and gently separate the petals. Oh yeah, this one's really good. I've got my dry ingredients mixed up already. It's just flour, Parmesan, paprika, garlic, salt, and pepper. And for my wet ingredients, I'll start with 2 eggs. I'm so excited to eat this. And 4 cloves of garlic. This onion has big personality and big flavor. A cup of milk and salt and pepper. I'm not gonna hold back with the salt. It's a big onion. And I'll mix it up. I'll dunk it into the dry mixture, and then the wet mixture, and then the dry again. And those 3 dunks together will create this breading all over these onion petals to make it completely irresistible. I'll flip it over and kind of separate the petals while I sprinkle this dry mixture all over to make sure that it gets in all of these layers. Deep, deep, deep. I'll transfer it to the wet mixture. You have to handle this like the delicate flour that it is. I'll flip it over and make sure that it's fully coated. And then back into the dry mixture. And the wet and the dry together create this batter that encases these petals. Okie doke. My onion is ready for the fryer. I have a few inches of oil heating here to 360 degrees. And I always like frying in cast iron because it holds the heat really nicely. All right, this part's really fun. This is when the onion blooms. This is gonna fry for 3 to 4 minutes on each side until it's golden. This is basically a gigantic onion ring. And I happen to be going through an onion ring phase in my life right now, so I am gonna destroy this. I'm gonna very gently flip this, and I'll let this go for another few minutes while I grab my garnishes. I've got some grated parm that I'm gonna sprinkle on top once it's out of the fryer. Some mayo for dipping, because the only thing better than a fried food is a fried food dipped in mayo. And then I'll chop up some fresh parsley. This will be nice and pretty on top. Okay, I think she's ready to come out. Oh, this looks awesome. I'll take a bouquet of these flowers any day. I'll place it on my wire rack so that any excess oil can drip off. While it's still hot, I'll sprinkle it with salt and pepper. I'll transfer it right to my plate. I'll cover it with a storm of Parmesan, a sprinkling of parsley. The parsley kind of just makes it. My mayo on the side. No one is gonna know if I taste it immediately while it's super hot and crispy. Here I go. I wish I had more thumbs to give it like 6 thumbs up.
Roasted shrimp cocktail with cocktail sauce. So what I'm doing here actually is I'm peeling the shrimp. I like to leave the tails on because when they're cooked, it's kind of a nice handle. And then I'm deveining it, run my knife right down the back. Just want to take that black vein out of the back of the shrimp and then just pull it out if it's in there. Sometimes there isn't any. These are 2 pounds of 12 to 15 count, which means there are 12 to 15 shrimp in a pound. Okay. So that's the shrimp, and now I'm going to show you how to roast them. Spread them out on a sheet pan, and just olive oil, just a couple of tablespoons, salt and pepper. Toss them together. And the important thing is you don't want to pile them up. You want basically in one layer. So I'm just going to spread them out. Okay. 400 degrees, 8 to 10 minutes. These are gonna be so delicious. Now for the sauce. I'm a believer in classic sauces. Cocktail sauce is cocktail sauce. I just like to do it with the volume turned up. So some of the classic ingredients with a little more flavor. So I need half a cup of chili sauce. Actually, I like to combine chili sauce and ketchup. One's a little spicy, one's a little sweeter. Half a cup of ketchup. That should be about right. 3 tablespoons of horseradish. Give it lots of spice, lots of heat. 1, 2. Splash of Worcestershire sauce. Give it a little depth of flavor. Splash of Tabasco, give it more heat, but a different kind of heat. And because I like the fresh flavor, a little bit of lemon to give it a nice sort of fresh citrusy flavor. Always goes with shrimp. A couple of teaspoons. Now, how easy is that? And that's the sauce. Okay, good. Set it up. Bowl for the sauce in the middle. And the shrimp should be ready. Oh, they look fantastic. Now, how fast is that? Okay, they're gonna be really hot, but if I work fast, I can do it. The shrimp are actually best if they're served warm or room temperature. These look really great. Well, I know how people went for the shrimp cocktail when I was catering, and we just used the boiled shrimp and perfectly good cocktail sauce, but not great cocktail sauce like this. People are gonna go crazy. Fantastic. Shrimp cocktail, really fast and so delicious.
A hearty, warming puree of roasted acorn squash, shallots and herbs, and a swirl of heavy cream, topped with a peppery pistachio Parmesan crostini. Each bowlful looks great, and it even tastes better. I've got some acorn squash in the oven, kind of roasting down. I'm gonna start some shallots with a little bit of this olive oil, kind of caramelize these bad boys up. It's gonna be the basis of the soup. Okay, so I'm gonna get these down. Pan was super hot, so I didn't put my butter in yet, but let me throw a little butter in now. Some great flavor out of this. Okay, we'll just reduce the heat a little bit. The Dutch oven was waiting for me to hurry up. And let them kind of go low and slow. I really want to pull some of the flavor out of this and let these caramelize. Let's take a look at that squash. That's what I'm talking about. Look at those bad boys all roasted up. The garlic in there, even a little bit of moisture inside of it, that's all flavor. My shallots look really nice in here. Now it's time to deglaze the bottom of this pan. We'll grab a little chicken stock for that. So that's what we've got. We're letting the acorn squash kind of cool down before we scoop it out, get it into here. I'm gonna deglaze with the chicken stock. This will be the base of the soup. Outrageous. I think it'd just be great like this, but we're making this dynamite soup, and I got some shallots and chicken stock doing time over here, simmering nicely. And inside of the squash in the cavities, I put some shallots, so that roasted with them. Those are gonna go right into the soup. Actually, everybody's gonna go into the soup. Let me see, I've got the shallots, some roasted garlic, that'll be really nice. And then the squash meat itself goes right in. That'll make it nice and creamy. Just a touch of cayenne. Not too much, about a quarter teaspoon. And about the same on the white pepper. A little dried sage, we all know what that's like, the rubbed sage, okay? And then some savory, which you don't hear a lot of times, and this has kind of got like a little lemony, almost dried arugula idea, but a little bit more citrusy, okay? Some Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of that in. Okay, so let me just give this a quick little buzz. These immersion blenders, I love them because we don't have to take all the soup out and hit it into the blender right now and then pour it back in because I want to continue cooking. So I just sit here and do this, kind of get all the big pieces ground up, let it continue to simmer. Over to this acorn squash soup. Little olive oil goes in, some grated Parmesan cheese, just a touch. Adds a little bit of salt to that, but this was seasoned really nice. So we'll stir that around, okay? Now look at these crostinis I got sitting over here. Chopped up some pistachios, hit a little Parmesan cheese, buttered up that baguette, popped it in the oven, and look at that. This is not your everyday soup, but tell me that's not gonna be nice and hearty on a cold winter day, especially during the holidays. I'll just put a little, you see here, I'll use my spoon so it doesn't just kind of clump right in the middle. There we go. I like that one. Float that bad boy right on top of there. And now let me get a taste of that. The roasted acorn, the garlic was roasted with it, the shallots, the chicken stock, the savory.
I'm going to show you how to prepare the cauliflower for the cauliflower toast. So this is small cauliflower. It's about 2 pounds. I'm going to take off all the greens. Don't want to eat those. And just pull the rest off. Okay. So what most people do is they cut it right through the top. You end up with like a flat plane, which isn't very pretty. What I do is turn it over and cut out the core and then pull the florets apart. 4 tablespoons of olive oil. This really needs a lot of olive oil. You'll see it just gets absorbed by the cauliflower. A little bit of red pepper flakes, like a 1/4 teaspoon. You don't want to burn people. You just want a little underlying heat. Teaspoon of salt. Sprinkle it on. Just toss it together. To roast the cauliflower, I'll put it in a 400-degree oven, tossing it from time to time. And after 30 minutes, when the florets are tender and randomly browned, I'll take it out and let it cool. So the cauliflower's cooled, and now I'm gonna put it in a big bowl and add some really delicious things. First, I'm gonna add 12 ounces of room temperature mascarpone, which is really like cream cheese. It's Italian cream cheese, but it's a little richer. 6 ounces of Gruyere. It's grated in long shreds. Just add the whole thing together. I've got 4 ounces of prosciutto, and what I'm gonna do is julienne it. I've stacked them all up. Just gonna put that right in. Just try and break it up so you don't get big pieces of prosciutto, just little shreds. And then salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt. Now the thing about salting is you wanna salt all the way through, a little bit at a time, and half a teaspoon of pepper. And that way, things don't taste salty, they taste perfectly seasoned. And then I'm gonna put a little nutmeg in, which is sort of classic when you make gratins, like with cheese. Just a quarter of a teaspoon, gives it a little extra hit of flavor. Okay, I'm gonna toss it all together. This is why the mascarpone has to be room temperature, otherwise it won't mix in. I wanna make sure it's really well mixed. Next is the toast. So I took a big boule, like one of those big round breads, country bread, and it's got a firm texture. If you use like a white bread, it's just gonna be too soft and it won't hold the cauliflower. And I'm just gonna pile the cauliflower right on top of it. Okay, I wanna get lots of it on. Maybe a little sprinkle of paprika on it. Just give it a little color, a little heat. Okay, that's one. So that's all 6 cauliflower toasts. I'll put them under the broiler for about 3 minutes. Watch them really carefully so they don't burn. I can smell cauliflower and cheese. Oh, these look so good. They're like crispy on the top and all the melted cheese. Fantastic. So I'm gonna put them on a platter. I always do like a square platter if I have something with rounded edges. Just somehow looks better. So I'm gonna put a few more things on top. A little fresh chive. I love to do this on the platter so the garnish kind of falls on the platter. You know what everything is. Parmesan cheese, a little spiciness. I mean, that really does make it look better. A little sea salt. Wow, this looks amazing. I mean, that's a way to take a very lowly vegetable like a cauliflower and make it into something really luxurious and delicious. I think I may have to steal a little piece of cauliflower. It's sweet, it's creamy, the cheese is amazing. You really can taste the chive. That's a delicious appetizer.
I like dates, but bacon makes it better. Let's talk dates. We have a date with the dates. We're gonna make a little sort of appetizer, sort of a little hors d'oeuvre, if you will, of a stuffed date with some manchego cheese wrapped in bacon. We're gonna bake that, and then we're going to brush it with some maple syrup. So we've got so many beautiful flavors going on here. We've got tangy, salty cheese. We have chewy, sweet dates. We've got crispy bacon, and then sticky maple syrup on the outside. Just so many flavors going on right in my mouth. I love that one. So I've got a little tray I'm gonna get everybody ready on. All right. I want to have my cheese fit right inside my date. So I'm saying, I think that's just about the right size. So we're gonna make little logs, little cheese logs. And then we're gonna slice my date just on one side. So we're gonna wiggle the cheese right in there. All right, make sure our plastic is all removed. Okay, so look at this. I'm gonna wrap my date around my cheese, kind of stick it shut. And then I'm gonna take some bacon. Hello, bacon. Bacon, look, we've got pork for dinner. We've got pork in our appetizer. Bacon makes it better. I love that one. So I've got some bacon slices. I'm gonna use about 1/3 of a bacon slice. We just wanna give our date a little bacony goodness hug. Look at that. That's a bacon hug if I ever saw one. And we just secure it with a little toothpick. Here we go, stick it shut. Hey, come on, give it a nicer hug than that. There we go. Okay, look at my cutie little date night. Hello, darlings. We're gonna put these guys in the oven for about 6 minutes. We're gonna turn them over and roast them for 6 more minutes at 400 degrees, and then we're gonna give them a little maple syrup bath to make them nice and sticky. So my dates have been in the oven for 12 minutes, 6 minutes on each side. And I'm gonna go ahead and brush them with some sticky stuff now. Got some maple syrup, real maple syrup, by the way. I'm just gonna pour a little bit here so I can brush them, and then I'm gonna toss them back in the oven for about 3 minutes so it gets on there and it gets sticky and crackly and delicious. So my dates are wrapped with bacon. Ooh, hello, cuties. Anything with bacon makes me happy. Cheesy bacon goodness. Oh, look at these beauties. So my pork is doing beautifully. Smells so good. Bacon smells amazing. So let's brush these guys. Oh yeah, nice and sticky. Sticky little babies. And the salty bacon, the tangy cheese, and the sweet date and the sweet maple syrup, a beautiful combination. Nice and little sticked up here. Alrighty, couple more. Look at these. The bacon smells amazing. All right, so back in the oven with these guys for about 2 to 3 minutes until we see them looking all like sort of crackly and sort of burnt. We have to be careful though, because the maple syrup, very high sugar content and can burn easily. So we can take something delightfully delicious and have it go south really quick. So just 2 to 3 minutes in there. And look at my lovely little dates. I'm doing a little toothpick removal. We don't need to pick our teeth and eat a little hors d'oeuvre at the same time. So my bacon wrapped dates stuffed with manchego cheese and then tossed in the oven at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes, 6 on each side. Get them and brushed with maple syrup so they're nice and sticky. I have my beautiful little dates that are stuffed with Spanish cheese, manchego, Spanish sheep's milk cheese. So I'm having a little Albarino to go with it. It's a Spanish white wine. That's the grape name, Albarino. And it is delightful and crisp and palate cleansing and will go beautifully with my date. Bacon and gamey and sweet and sticky. And bright and palate cleansing. Oh, these are delightful together.
I thought I'd make cream of wild mushroom soup to start because I can make the whole thing in advance and then just heat it up before dinner. I'm starting with 5 ounces of each of 3 mushrooms, portobello, cremini, and shiitake. If you can't find all 3, just pick one. Okay, nice clean mushrooms. So the next step is to separate the mushroom stems from the caps. That one's just caps. Take off the stems. I love the nutty, sort of meaty flavor of the wild mushrooms. I'm gonna chop the stems, just a rough chop because it's all gonna get cooked together. And then for more flavor, I'm gonna chop a carrot. Any kind of vegetables you have that will flavor the stock, it's a great way to use them up. Okay, so now I'm gonna heat the pan. A tablespoon of olive oil, a tablespoon of butter. In go the onions, carrots, and the mushroom stems. These are just gonna cook for about 10 to 15 minutes until they get really nicely caramelized. And okay, big sprig of thyme, right in. Just gonna let that cook. I'm gonna get the rest of the soup ready. So the first thing I'm gonna use is a leek. I know you've seen it at the grocery store, but people don't use it so much here. So, you need some butter and oil again, just so that you get the best flavor of the butter and the best burning temperatures of the oil. Leeks go into the pan. And those are going to saute for about 15 to 20 minutes until they have great flavor. In the meantime, I'm going to pour some water into the stock. I need 6 cups of water. So it's just going to simmer away for about 30 minutes until it gets a really rich mushroom stock. And then later, I'm going to add it to the soup. Okay, so the next thing I want to do for the soup is cut up the mushroom caps, like 1/4 half-inch slices. Okay, that's it for the mushrooms. I'm just going to go into the pan with the leeks and the butter. Just give them a stir. And those are going to cook for about 10 minutes until all the moisture from the mushrooms gets out into the soup. Okay, now I'm going to strain the stock. I want to get every last bit. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to add a little flour to these mushrooms. It's amazing how much they've cooked down. So I need 1/4 cup of flour. What this is going to do is thicken the soup. Just add it right to the mushrooms. Cook it for a minute. Perfect. Now I need 1 cup of dry white wine, whatever you have in the refrigerator. Oh, that smells great. Okay, some fresh thyme leaves, about a teaspoon. Give it a stir. And now I'm going to add the stock. Look how gorgeous that is, just from the stems. Okay, last ingredients. So 1 cup of cream. And then 1 cup of half and half. And 1/2 cup of fresh parsley. Give it a stir. So I'm going to chill this, and then I'm going to heat it up just before dinner.
This is fantastic.
Thank you.
Actually, this is the best soup I've ever had. It is delicious.
Thank you.
Really.
I'm making deviled eggs, but they're not any old plain deviled eggs. I'm adding a fried shrimp on top. I am going to let my shrimp sit in the buttermilk and then get started on my egg. Okay, so I have a little bit of salt and pepper that I'm adding to this bowl, which has some buttermilk in it. I have about 1 pound of Charleston white shrimp that I have peeled and deveined. Putting it in the buttermilk helps that coating adhere to the shrimp because, I mean, shrimp doesn't have skin on it, so it needs something to help it stick, and that's what that buttermilk does. Now, if you don't live in a coastal area like I do, you can always use frozen. Just make sure it's thawed. Make sure it's nice and coated with that buttermilk. I have 12 extra large hard-boiled eggs here. I'm gonna use a food processor to make my filling. So I'm just gonna dump the yolk in there, and then I have this cute little tray here that I'm gonna put each half on. All right, so for the rest of the ingredients in here, I have my egg yolk. I'm gonna add a little mayo, it's a really good mayo. A little yellow mustard. You gotta have that yellow mustard in there. A little sour cream, some sweet relish, a little salt, a pinch of my house seasoning. You don't wanna make it too salty. And some freshly cracked black pepper. All right, so I'm just gonna turn this on until it becomes smooth. I like putting my yolk mixture in the food processor because I pipe this out into each individual half, so it comes out really, really smooth. All right, so I have a jar here to help keep that nice and sturdy while I add my yolk. Yummy. I have a star tip on my piping bag. Hear my grandma and my mom talking right now. Don't you waste that, get all of that out of there. So I'm just piping this. So I'm starting off like that, kind of holding my bag not too tight because I don't want too much to come out at one time, and just gliding it up just like that. It's gonna be like the bed for my fried shrimp. Those look beautiful. Now I'm going to dredge and fry my shrimp. I'm gonna combine 1 cup of all-purpose flour, about 1/2 cup of yellow cornmeal, and that's gonna make it really crunchy. a little seafood seasoning, and a little extra pinch of salt. Mix it all together. Taking my shrimp that has been sitting in that buttermilk and just dredging, and I dredge the tail as well. All right, I have my oil heated to 350. I'm gonna fry these in batches until they're golden brown. This is gonna be my first batch. Now, shrimp does not take long to cook, 3 to 4 minutes. I have some neutral oil here, some canola oil. You can use vegetable if you'd like. I stick between canola and vegetable oil. Give that about 3 or 4 minutes. Ooh, these are pretty. All right, I believe these are done. Look how pretty they are. And let me tell you something, you'll know if you've overcooked shrimp if they get a really, really tight curl. I'm gonna build myself an egg. Oh, that's really good. It's delicious.
So the first thing I always do with a cheese platter is put down some green leaves. These are fig leaves from my garden, but if you don't have a fig tree in your garden, you can use hydrangea leaves, you can go to the florist and get Galax leaves, whatever you have that's sort of big, green, and flat. Okay, the next thing I always do is I always put a big bunch of grapes right in the middle. It can be a couple of bunches of grapes, actually. The first time I did a cheese platter was like 40 years ago, and my friend Anna Pump was with me. And I don't know what it looked like, but it probably looked like a dog's breakfast. And she came over to me and she said, okay, now take everything off the platter. I was like, okay. And then she said, okay, now put the grapes in the middle, the cheese around the outside, and big blocks of crackers and apricots. And then she said, and stop. Those are 2 really good lessons, is to do it really simply and beautifully, and then stop. Okay, so we've got a big bunch of grapes in the middle, and then I'm gonna put the cheeses on the outside, as Anna taught me. So I have different kinds of cheeses. I like soft ripening cheeses like Brie, like this is one. I have a blue cheese. This is English Stilton, which I adore. And you want the rinds in and the cheese facing out. And this is incredible. This is pecorino with truffles. So it's an Italian cheese. It's just so flavorful. And the last one is goat cheese. So now I've got all different shapes and flavors. I've got creamy things, I've got crumbly things, I've got hard, sharp things. And the goat cheese, which is called Fleur Verte, is a very creamy goat cheese with herbs on the outside. So just put that right there. So now I've got extra space on the platter to put other things. And I love things that like go with cheese. So fresh strawberries are great. So I'm just gonna put a big bunch of fresh strawberries on. And just kind of paint it, you know, just keep it really casual. So when I do a cheese platter, I always do it as a second course. So there's a main course, the cheese course, and dessert. And you wanna do it not when you're making filet beef for dinner and like chocolate mousse for dessert, because people will go home holding their bellies going, oh, I'm never eating again. You don't want that. So I always do it when I have something light like fish or a stew, like a fish stew. And then I serve something like granita for dessert, because this is a pretty rich course. So that's strawberries. Then I'm gonna do maybe some apricots in the middle. So big blocks of color. You don't want it to look like that original one that I did, which looked like a dog's breakfast. And then I always like other things that taste good with it. So a little fig jam is wonderful. Like the blue cheese and the fig jam is great together. So I'm just gonna, really, this is all store-bought. Just put a little bowl in with fresh fig jam, a little knife, and everybody can help themselves. Sometimes people serve cheese as a first course, like before dinner. I just think people fill up on cheese. You want it to be like a treat after dinner. I love this. I love fig jam and Stilton together. Okay, now crackers. So I have different shaped crackers and different colors of crackers. So I have light crackers like these sticks. They're really delicious, just like that. Just put them right on. And then I have dark crackers that are like little crisp things. So I'm just gonna put them around. I don't even need room, which is exactly when it looks the best, when it's all like full and sumptuous. If you're gonna make a cheese platter for a lot of people, don't get more kinds of cheese, just get bigger pieces. Or cheese platter for a smaller group, the same thing. smaller pieces of cheese. Okay, I think I'm gonna do one more thing. I like a little height on this brie, so what I'm gonna do is take a little piece of it and just put it right on top. So now it's got a little more height, kind of matches the other ones. And I've got one more thing. I've got a fig ball. This is dried figs. Let's see how this is gonna go on. And I'm gonna open the fig ball, and it's dried and wrapped in fig leaves. And just open the whole thing so people can help themselves. Maybe I'll cut it in half. That's a good idea. And you'll see all the figs inside. Oh, all these dried figs. That's really great. I mean, that doesn't look half bad, does it? Hang on a moment. Let me just show you that again. I mean, how easy was that? It's 5 minutes, it looks really impressive, and there's no cooking at all. That's what I call fun.
So today we're gonna talk about spinach artichoke dip. It's a go-to restaurant appetizer. You can recreate this ooey gooey starter with very few ingredients and even add a little kick. This is my spicy 5-ingredient spinach artichoke dip. Let's get started. So I've already got my 5 ingredients out, and my oven is preheated to 375 degrees. Now, 5 ingredients: spinach, artichokes, whipped cream cheese with chives, sour cream, and shredded pepper jack cheese, okay? That's all we need to make this dish. I've got my pan. I'm gonna turn it on and get it ready to go, because we're gonna saute some of this baby spinach. We've got a nice jar here of my artichoke hearts. I've got them marinated in oil, because it's, you know, when you're doing 5 ingredients, you really need each ingredient to come with more than just one flavor profile if you can. It needs to come in and pack a punch. So if you can see right here, all that flavor that's going on in here, I'm just gonna drain it out. And I'm gonna maximize my ingredients. That flavorful marinade that's in there, I'm gonna use some of that to cook my spinach. So about 3 tablespoons. I know I'm holding on to my measure, but about 3 tablespoons. And then I've got a big old, what we like to call in the business, the clam shell of love. It's baby spinach. You get more than you think that you're gonna need. Same thing with mushrooms, because it cooks down really, really fast. And what I like to do is just kind of get it in batches, because then you can kind of work it around and make sure everything hits that heat and starts to wilt for you. And you'll start to see it get really, really, really bright, you know, just kind of like as if you were blanching it. And then all of a sudden it starts to wilt. You got a little bit more room. As soon as you start seeing some space in the pan, you can start adding some more. Now, also smart to hit it with a little bit of salt. That doesn't count in the ingredient count. Salt and pepper, and usually like the fat, you know, if it's like olive oil or something. But I decided not to use olive oil. I mean, we've got the oil in there that's marinating the artichoke hearts. When I was growing up, my mom used to always have these soirees at the house, and she wouldn't make like artichoke dip. She would just get like the real raw artichoke, slice it in half, broil it, deliciousness. All right, more in. See, we're so healthy. We're gonna eat all the spinach. All right, so I'm gonna move this around. A little bit more salt helps wilt it down. Plus, we like to season every layer. I used to go crazy in the produce section, making sure everything is like pre-washed. I'm like reading those labels like crazy, so make sure you read the label. All right, so we've got our artichoke hearts while we're waiting on everything to wilt down there. I'm just gonna give them a nice chop. Just come in and be random. Gonna mix it all in together with the other ingredients, our cream cheese, a little shredded pepper jack. And I do that because you know, like I said, few ingredients, they gotta come through with a flavor profile. Boom. All right, so I'm gonna get these into my bowl. Coincidentally, if you didn't know, artichokes, super delicious and tasty, but the center of an artichoke is called the heart. It's the meaty center. It has like a rich, deep taste. All right, so now look at our spinach. It's getting to the point where we don't want it to burn or get dark brown and oxidize. And every once in a while, I'll even chop it down a little bit, but this is baby spinach, so right into the bowl with those artichokes. Get that in there. I'm gonna add 8 ounces of whipped chive cream cheese. I used to use, regular cream cheese, but whipped cream cheese is just what it sounds like. They've aerated it, so it's a lot softer, and you don't have to do that whole defrosting thing and leave it on the counter so it becomes pliable. It just comes right out and ready to mix into your recipes. All right, a little bit of sour cream. A 1/4 cup of sour cream is going in. And then our final ingredient, which is 8 ounces of pre-shredded pepper jack cheese. Got a little bit of fire in there from the pimento. Just come in and just mix it all up. Hit it with a little bit of pepper if you feel like it. I'm starting to smell the artichokes. Now remember, the oven is at 375 degrees. This is gonna take around 20 minutes. So 375. Is what I've got the oven at. I've got my little serving dishes here. Now, you can use an 8x8, you can do ramekins. This all just depends on the party you're throwing, you know what I'm saying? You can double this and make a big old 9x11. I'm gonna clean that up. But this gets in. Try and be even. And then I'm just gonna use a spoon to level off everything. It's okay if some of that hangs over the edge because, when it comes to the table at the restaurant, it's like bubbling and a couple of pieces of cheese are like burnt. That's the good stuff, you know what I'm saying? All right, remember the pepper jack cheese? It's getting double usage here. A little over the top. It's about 4 ounces. And I always say to myself, an ounce is like a slice. So it's like 4 slices of cheese, no big deal. NBD. Okay, 375 in the oven till it starts to get nice and bubbly around the edge. If you feel like it's not golden brown on the top, you can also throw the broiler on for a few minutes to get that curb appeal that you want, getting it in the oven. Meet me back here when your dip is ready. Ooh, it's piping hot. When they bring it to the table, they're like, don't touch it. It's really, really hot. It's like, we know that. I want to burn the roof of my mouth with this stuff. All right, I love serving this with tortilla chips, just like at the restaurant. If you want, you can put your tortilla chips in the oven on warm. That's anywhere from 150 to 200 for like 5 to 10 minutes. Just when you start seeing them glisten and the oils are coming to life on the inside. Let me dig up in here. What? Ooh, I like it when the chip breaks. It lets you know it is talking business in there. Look at that. Piping hot goodness. I'm gonna burn my roof in my mouth. I don't care. 5 ingredients. It gets no simpler, so you can make this warm, creamy, and full of melty, cheesy goodness. Definitely one of the most satisfying appetizers around, in my book at least. This is my 5-ingredient spicy spinach artichoke dip. Hope you enjoy.
I grilled 2 ears of corn, and I just finished slicing the kernels off of the second ear, and I'm gonna get the kernels into a bowl. So that's the corn, and now I'll make the dip base, which is really creamy, rich, and flavorful. I'm using a little food processor, and I have some cream cheese along with sour cream. See if I can fit this into this little food processor. And some lime juice, just to give it some zip and interest. And 3 different spices, some cumin, not too much of anything, paprika, and cayenne, which is really nice. It gives the corn dip some nice spice. I'm also gonna add some hot sauce, which adds heat, but it also gives it some extra flavor. Salt and pepper, of course, and a pile of green onions. Talk about flavor. And then I'll get the lid on and mix this together, and then I have some more things to add. So far, so good. Now I'm really gonna up the game here. I have 3 different cheeses. So I just added Monterey Jack queso fresco that's crumbled, and cheddar. And now I'm gonna let the teeny tiny food processor do all the work. Okay, I think that looks great. This dip has great texture and you don't have to overmix it. If it's a little bit lumpy and you can see little shards of grated cheese, then even better. So I will scrape this magnificent, cheesy, creamy, spicy mixture into the corn. This is such an amazing dip. Okay, got my little serving bowl. Delicious. And then I'll garnish with whatever I have left on the board. Some more queso fresco, a little green onion, and some cheddar cheese. Oh, okay, that is the corn dip. It looks so good. I'm putting the roasted corn dip right in the center. I've got chips, veggies, peppers, pickles. Oh, it's so pretty. So this is dip number 2. It's green goddess dressing and the processor does all the work. I threw in half a cup each of fresh parsley leaves, fresh dill, and sliced chives. Then I added a tablespoon of tarragon, the juice and zest of a lemon, a minced garlic clove, some salt and pepper, 2 medium diced avocados, a cup of mayonnaise, and a cup of sour cream. I turned on the processor, kept going until it was deliciously smooth, then tipped it into a bowl, making sure to get every last out of this world drop. Okay, and then this is dip number 3. I think I saved the best for last. It looks simple, but boy, is it incredible. This one is whipped feta. All I needed was my processor, a cup of Greek yogurt, a cup of crumbled feta, 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, and a splash of heavy cream. I processed it until it was smooth and creamy and scraped it into a bowl, disciplining myself not to eat it. Then just garnished it with some dill sprigs. You seriously have to try this.
So the first thing I'm doing is taking the caps off 16 big mushrooms. Just take them off like that. Mushrooms really can absorb any flavor because they really don't have much flavor themselves. So I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then 2.5 tablespoons of marsala. It's a wonderful sweet dessert wine. It's very often used in zabaione. You can use sherry if you don't have it. Okay, give it a big toss. And that's going to really absorb the flavors into the mushrooms. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to make the stuffing. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And 3/4 pound of Italian sausage. I'm using sweet Italian sausage, but you can certainly use hot if you like it hot, or combine the two. It's good and messy, but it makes delicious stuffing. I'm just going to let this cook until it's nicely browned. I'm going to chop some mushroom stems, the ones that I took off, and just put them right into the cooked sausage. And now lots of flavors. I've got 6 scallions all chopped up. You want this to be really spicy and delicious. 2 cloves of garlic minced. Just give that a quick saute. And now instead of putting bread in this stuffing, I'm going to put panko in, which is dried Japanese bread flakes. And I just think they give a nice crispness to it, which is just what I'm looking for. So about 2/3 cup. That should be good. Give it a big stir. This is really smelling like good stuffing. Smell the sausage and the garlic and scallions and some mascarpone to make it nice and creamy and hold it together. So I need about 5 ounces. I think this package is 8 3/4, so good part of this package. I always use good Italian mascarpone. It makes a difference. Okay, now off the heat, I'm going to add 2 more things and some salt and pepper. First one is Parmesan cheese. I'm just doing that off the heat because I don't want the Parmesan to stick to the pan. So about 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. That should be good. And some fresh parsley. About 2.5 tablespoons. And then salt and pepper. A teaspoon of salt. You want this really well seasoned because remember the mushrooms don't have all that much flavor. kind of like polenta. It absorbs whatever flavor you give it. So that's the stuffing. Looks delicious. Now I'm gonna put it in the mushrooms. Perfect pan, great. And I think I'm just gonna drizzle the extra olive oil and Marsala wine over it. Okay, time to stuff the mushrooms. Just a regular teaspoon, just stuff each one. And so when this bakes, it's gonna be just tender and delicious and spicy with the sausage. Into the oven, 325 degrees. I can't wait till these come out.